Hey everyone, this is PM Sport Talk, the father and son duo podcast. I'm your host Preston, alongside my father Mike and Dad. How are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Had a nice summer vacation. It's football season now, and I'm glad to be back in the saddle.
Same here. It's good to be back in the studio and talk some sports with you and share it with all of the viewers. So, we're going to start not with the NFL, but we're going to go into college because, Dad, there is a history upset this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. One that I don't think anybody saw coming. Down in South Bend with the Fighting Irish, who was coming off that big win against Texas A&M last week. And here comes in little Northern Illinois. Who?
Yeah.
Northern Illinois. The average sports fan probably doesn't even know who they are. But they walked into South Bend and shocked the world, beating the Fighting Irish 16-14. Unbelievable.
Yeah, the difference maker really was those blocked kicks, 2 of them.
Yeah. Unbelievable. How does a team like that against a line? I mean, Notre Dame probably has one of the biggest offensive lines in all of college football. All these all-pro offensive linemen in the NFL, half of them are from Notre Dame. But yet, this little team from Northern Illinois had guys to get in there and block a kick. It's just unbelievable. I was watching the Iowa State game because that one was fairly close, and every once in a while I catch a score, and Northern Illinois was hanging right in there. They were ahead, and then all of a sudden I saw Notre Dame go up by 1, and then I'm like, it's getting late in this game. I got to switch over. I switched over. It was 14-13 Irish. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That team just willed that victory over this number 5 ranked Notre Dame, who we all thought maybe this is their year where they might contend for a national championship. There's a good chance that's over now. Unbelievable.
The big Northern Illinois win, obviously, and Notre Dame, ranked number 5. This is Northern Illinois' biggest upset in school history and their first ever upset of a top 10 team.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I think I saw a stat where they're like 0-14 or something like that against top 10 teams. They probably play a top 10 team, every couple years or something like that. They schedule like Notre Dame. What happens is these big college teams like Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, they pay these little colleges like Northern Illinois to come play at their stadium. They pay them. Notre Dame paid Northern Illinois $1.4 million just to come and play there, figuring that it's just a nice, easy win for them.
Yeah.
We'll pay you, help you out. You come here,
stomped.
and we'll get a win. And that didn't work out so well for Notre Dame this time, did it?
They lost both ways. They lost money and they lost the game.
Yeah, it's crazy. And if you look at their schedule, they have like 1 or 2 ranked teams. They obviously they play USC every year. That's the big rivalry. Usually their last game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
USC's the only really good team they have left on their schedule.
They got to win that game. If they don't win that game, I mean, this was the season where Notre Dame, it was pretty much undefeated or bust. And
yeah.
If they want to make a national title rank. And you would think, like, if they were going to lose a game, it would be to Miller Moss and USC. They lost week 2 to Northern Illinois, this small school in Illinois.
Yeah, they play Florida State, who we see isn't as good as we thought. At the beginning of the year, you thought, wow, that's a huge game, Notre Dame, Florida State. But now, that's not going to help Notre Dame.
Doesn't matter at all.
Unless somehow Florida State goes on and wins the rest of their games before they play Notre Dame.
I just don't see that happening.
I just don't think they're that good this year.
No.
So Notre Dame, I mean, like Louisville's ranked, but they're barely ranked, and by the time they play them, they might not be ranked.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think Notre Dame fell all the way down to 18, if I'm correct, just by this loss. They went from 5 to 18.
They're lucky to even be ranked still.
So, yeah. They like I said, they got to run the table, beat USC.
I mean, you would think like, remind me of the coach's name. I forgot.
Marcus Freeman.
Marcus Freeman. You would think Marcus Freeman, going all in, getting Riley Leonard from Duke out of the transfer portal after his huge season at Duke last year, and you would think that's gonna like boost their chances a lot. They had Hartman last year, and he wasn't bad, but he obviously couldn't get the job done. He couldn't really beat any like top tier teams.
Yeah, he couldn't do it. No.
And you would think, okay, Marcus Freeman sees that Riley Leonard, he can maybe do it, and maybe he can, but you got to beat Northern Illinois, no problem if you're the Irish there.
Yeah, that was just pathetic. Maybe Riley Leonard is not as good as we thought, or maybe that injury that he got at the end of last year is hampering him a little bit. I don't know.
Against Notre Dame,
Yeah,
ironically,
right, yeah. But he didn't. He looked bad against Northern Illinois. I could see it if they kind of lost in like a kind of a shootout, maybe sometimes. But to not be able to score points against Northern Illinois is really baffling to me.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get that. It's not like they had a bunch of fumbles and stuff all over the place. I don't think. I just think they just couldn't move the ball that well.
No.
And that's shocking. Usually like I said, when a team like that upsets them, there's a bunch of turnovers and all that. They turned the ball over a couple times maybe, but a lot of times you'll see like they have like 5 turnovers or something like that. That's what leads to it. That wasn't the case here. They just got outplayed.
Yeah.
And that can't happen. This happened last year too. They lost to Marshall.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So I remember they lost to Marshall.
And the year before, this is Freeman's 3rd year. The year before, his first year, they lost to somebody they weren't supposed to either. But it was his first year, and he hadn't had a chance to really recruit and all that. So nobody gave him a hard time about that. But these last 2 years, he's losing to teams that shouldn't even be on the field with Notre Dame. So, yeah, that's crazy. I'm sure. I mean, he's got a long leash. Notre Dame doesn't really fire guys right away. I'm sure he's got a couple years left to try to improve himself, but it's not a good way to go.
No.
Losing to Northern Illinois. Now, he can make up for it. If somehow they can run the table and beat USC, they'll probably be in the playoff. And he'll have a chance to redeem. This whole team can redeem themselves, but boy, they got a long ways to go.
Yeah. Huge upset there for Northern Illinois. And one more game we're going to touch on here with college football, ladies and gentlemen, was the Michigan-Texas game. And honestly, if you watch any college football, I don't care if you're a Michigan fan, Texas fan, or just a watcher, you should have seen this coming.
Yeah. You called it. You told me.
I don't think this was a big shocker at all. I want to just go on for a little bit because J.J. McCarthy last year, right, goes to the draft, gets drafted by the Vikings, all that. They lose a couple other guys to the draft, Corum, Wilson. When you have a guy like Sharon Moore, who is an offensive mastermind, taking over at head coach, when Jim Harbaugh also leaves for the NFL, you gotta go out there if you're Michigan and get a top quarterback, because this is a top program over the past couple of years, and they settled for a walk-on quarterback. Their quarterback battle was Alex Orji, who was only in for running plays, and a walk-on quarterback. I don't think that's really the key to success there if you're Michigan.
It's horrible planning on their part. I don't get it at all. I don't think Jim Harbaugh was planning on going to the NFL. I think the whole scandal thing last year and he winning the national championship, he decided to go to the NFL.
Mm-hmm. You
got to wonder, what was his plan? Because all these years up to this year, he always had at least two quarterbacks that were really good, or were supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
Were top recruits.
Right.
And last year they had J.J. McCarthy, and I guess they knew that McCarthy was going pro after last year. No matter what happened, he was going pro.
Mm-hmm.
So why did they not get somebody in there? Unless they were going to go transfer portal and it didn't work out, I don't know. But you're Michigan. You don't need to go to the transfer portal. You recruit top guys out of high school, the top guys. It's horrible what they came up with. Now you called it. You told me I was getting ready to watch the game, and you're like, Texas is going to demolish them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't. I kind of figured Texas was going to win, but I thought it would be a close game. And boy, you were right. Game was over before it started. Michigan could not move the ball at all, and I think their defense is still pretty good. But because their offense couldn't move the ball, their defense was on the field the whole game.
You can't rely on your That's the problem. You can't rely on your defense the whole game and blame them afterwards for giving up all those points. At some point, they're gonna get tired. If you're on the field constantly and the offense is constantly turning the ball over, getting 3 and outs, it's just not a product to success. And boy, does Michigan have a long season ahead.
Now, unlike you, I do think they'll bounce back. I don't think they'll be a playoff team. I think they're probably going to have 3 losses, which will be too many.
Their best bet, really, to beat a ranked opponent and get back into the playoff picture, they got to beat Oregon. Unless Oregon changes things, I mean, they're 2-0, but it has been pretty. They almost lost to Idaho. They beat Boise State in a nail-biter by 3 points.
Yeah, their games have been close, but I think like Boise State's probably better than you think they are.
Probably.
So I give them a break. But Oregon and Michigan and probably Washington too. I know Washington's ranked high. You got to think that those 3 teams aren't going to be as good as they were last year.
No.
They lost too many guys. So
yeah, that's a big one. Oregon lost like pretty much their whole offense.
Same with Washington.
Yeah.
They lost all those receivers and the quarterback.
Yeah, and some linemen too.
Yeah, so and their top running back, right? So same with Michigan. You can't. I mean, there's only probably like I'm going to go out on a limb here. There's probably only 2 programs that can sustain that kind of loss year after year, and that's Georgia and Alabama. They seem to be the only programs that can reload really quick.
Mm-hmm.
All the other programs, like Michigan and Ohio State, even though they're top tier, when they lose their quarterback, they usually have a year where they're not horrible, but they're not top.
Ohio State that year was last year.
Right.
And you see Kyle McCord now playing really good for Syracuse, and you just got to think it was probably a bad scene for him when he went to Ohio State.
Bad scene, plus he's a year older now. He went through it. Maybe if he stays at Ohio, they didn't. If he just stayed at Ohio State, maybe he would have second year been better, but I don't know if they were going to give him the opportunity for that.
Fair. So
who knows? But like you say, maybe he just needed a change of scenery. But that's why I think, Michigan, Oregon, Washington, those type teams, they're gonna be, down a notch this year. Look at Texas. They got the quarterback back. They got a lot of guys back. They had to replace some guys, but they got the main guy back, the quarterback, and you look how good they are. So
I think Texas still would have been good if they lost Ewers. I guess it depends how Manning.
Is he as good as everybody thinks?
Yeah, but Ewers, yeah, that was a big get back because for sure you're going to have a good season if he's under center.
Yeah, he's really good. I mean, I heard somebody say, I think it was Mad Dog today, said that he's not a pro. He might not be a pro.
Mad Dog, I know you love him. I know he's your favorite radio host, but he can be an idiot sometimes.
Yeah, when it comes to college players, he really doesn't know as much as he thinks. He said that he might not be a pro quarterback. I'm like, he's probably going to be the top quarterback. He's going to be the top 1 or 2 or 3 quarterback drafted.
It's either going to be him or Carson Beck, first QB off the board.
And then maybe Sanders, but his stock is dropping. So
Sanders, yeah. I mean, if you going jumping off ship for a little bit, if you go into that Nebraska game, I mean, if you saw that interview, it's a little hard because last year this was the same scenario as Shedeur. He was getting hit around, offensive line couldn't block. And you kind of see the same thing here to start the season. Last year, Shador didn't say anything about it, took accountability. But as soon as he starts to take accountability, I know you shouldn't do it at all. But I don't know if you saw the interview, but I was scrolling on social media, and I see Shador respond to this reporter. I think that it was just a moment of silence, and then he was like, well, did you guys see how much Raiola got touched? You guys see how much he got touched? And he was like, I guess he kind of shifted the blame to the offensive line. You can't do that. I know it gets frustrating, but that's something you take up with your teammates. And if Deion Sanders is going to put up this L symbol right on his jersey, which stands for leader, you got to show it. And I don't think Shador is that. Yeah, I think he's more of a diva than a leader.
I think he's absolutely a diva. I didn't like them right from the get-go. The way they came into Colorado, acting like they had already won championships. You hadn't won anything yet.
Yeah.
He's talented. He might make a great pro quarterback. I don't know yet. His attitude's got to change though.
Yeah, that's the one thing. He could be as talented as he wants to be, but you got to change that attitude up at some point. I mean,
his father has been his coach every year in college.
He talks and talks and talks and talks, and at some point you just gotta zip it, because I don't know if you recall, but last year Nebraska and Colorado had some little issues too.
Yeah.
With Matt Rule and Sanders, both Sanders, Prime and Shador. At some point, you gotta learn what it is to be professional.
If you're gonna talk the talk, you better walk the walk. And right now, they're not walking the walk.
No, it's interesting. Sorry, but it's interesting because another thing I just want to point out real quick: Sanders, obviously his biological sons, Shiloh and Shador, play on Colorado, right? And he kind of takes in Travis Hunter as like his third son. Travis Hunter is miles ahead of showing class and professional. I don't ever see anything in the news or in the media about him running his mouth, really. I think he just plays ball, and that's what I really respect about him, because he is one talented player.
Yeah, he's their best player. Yeah, you don't hear that about him. And I don't know if it's maybe those guys have a chip on their shoulder a little bit because they weren't drafted to big-time colleges. They went with their father to Jackson State, where Travis Hunter was, when I say drafted, recruited.
Recruited, yeah.
Travis Hunter was recruited by Florida State.
He was recruited by a lot of people.
He actually gave his letter of intent or whatever they call that he was going to Florida State, and then Deion got him to go to Jackson State with him. He flipped him. So maybe that's the difference. I don't know. Those guys trying real hard to prove that they're not just Deion's son. They're really good. So maybe that's where that all comes from. I don't know. But what I do know is if he's going to get drafted, Sanders. That attitude he's got is not going to fly in an NFL locker room.
No.
So he's going to have to change a little bit, So we'll see how it goes, but he's got a lot of work to do. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, we've got pretty much the big college stories out of the way. Let's go to the NFL Week 1, and it is a big week, Dad.
Absolutely. I was really looking forward to it, of course. I was a little disappointed we had some really good games, but there were also some really duds.
Yeah.
But those other 3 or 4 games that were really good made up for it. Obviously, Kansas City, Baltimore was a very good game.
Watched it right till the end, and oh boy, I'm sure Isaiah likely wishes he wore a smaller shoe size.
Yeah, that I really think if he gets his foot in there, they're going to go for 2.
Oh yeah, it's confirmed. They flipped the camera to Harbaugh, and he was doing this.
And there's a good chance they make it. So they might have won that game.
But think about it like this: what if Lamar just didn't miss Zay Flowers? You wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why, I starting off week 1 with my Lamar can't win the big game deal, like I always say. Talented, really talented guy. Stats, he always has the stats. Look at his stats from that game. They weren't super, but they were still really good. I mean, pretty good. He ran for 122 yards, which is excellent, and he threw for like another 250 or so. I mean, but that's the problem. He's their whole team. He everything is just him. Him.
They didn't even have a running game besides him. Derrick Henry got shut down every play.
That's what I mean. You can't win that way. They're never going to win, which is fine with me because I don't like Baltimore. But
Yeah.
Obviously being a Steelers fan, but that team's never going to win a Super Bowl with him at quarterback playing that way. But I think with him as your quarterback, that's the only way they can play. So I just don't think it'll ever work because he's not a good enough passer.
I don't know. The way they responded after the game, too, I'm specifically talking about Lamar and Likely. I mean, I guess it's their way of showing confidence in their team, but they just said it the wrong way. I mean, there was one with Lamar where this reporter was like, well, it seems like the Chiefs are your kryptonite. And he's like,
Right.
they're not my kryptonite. Like, he completely shut it down. And then you got Isaiah Likely. His was kind of worse, actually. He was like, well, the Chiefs better play better if they see us in the playoffs because
Yeah,
if that's the best they play, then we'll beat them.
that's a classic thing that a high school kid will say about a team that he can't beat. And these guys are professionals. Yeah. Well, I got news for them. Kansas City didn't play that good, and they still beat you. So, instead of saying, oh, they're not my kryptonite, why, if he's really professional and you want to see maturity from him, why didn't he just say, yeah, they played really good tonight. They've beaten us a couple times, but we're pretty confident that in the right moment, our turn will come. Something like that. But yeah, it's the way they do. That's why it's hard to like a team like Baltimore.
Right.
I don't know, but I just don't think you can win with him. Yep, they're going to win there every year if he stays healthy. They're going to win their 11 or 12 games, but they're never going to get to a Super Bowl. Never. I don't care. Their defense isn't good enough. Their defense is good, but all these people saying their defense is great. It's not great. It's good. It's not great. And unless they have a defense that is absolutely like the 85 Bears, which I don't think you're ever going to see again, they're not winning with him at quarterback because he's just not a good enough passer. He has to run the ball, and it just doesn't work.
Right.
We've seen it. We play him twice a year, and our Steelers team has just been a middle-of-the-road team the last 3 or 4 years. An 8-win, 9-win, 10-win team. And we always beat Lamar.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because
I want to knock on wood real quick, but if I'm right, I don't think Lamar as the starter has ever beaten us.
he hasn't.
I think we've won every single game against Lamar, and that just as a Steelers fan, that just can't happen.
No, if you're a Ravens fan, I mean, how can a guy that talented not beat Pittsburgh at least once?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's just because Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin know how to play that guy. And you think the rest of the league doesn't look at that? You think Kansas City doesn't look at that and say, oh, he can't beat Pittsburgh, or, look at this. It doesn't have to be Pittsburgh, but whatever team that plays him really well, that always beats him, and you're like, ugh. It's just.
I think the teams that always beat him, like on the regular, are only the Steelers and the Chiefs. Because whenever he goes to Cincinnati or Cleveland, they usually either split or, have a close game.
Yeah, it's because if you notice the games against us, he doesn't run the ball.
No.
We shut that down. Pittsburgh shuts that down and
forces him to throw.
And yes, he's going to make a few really good throws, and you're going to be like, oh, wow, there he is. But the more he has to throw, the less effective he is.
Right.
And so I just don't, they're not going to beat Kansas City. They're just not. The only way they're beating Kansas City is if Kansas City has a bunch of injuries or something,
Right.
but I don't see it. And, I know it's just game one, but if they have to play Kansas City to get to the Super Bowl again, they're not doing it.
No. So there's your kickoff recap. And now I want to get into one of the 1 o'clock games. And if we can get a clip up real quick, this is going to be from the Cardinals and Bills game. So, all right, Dad, here's a clip posted by the official NFL channel. So this is from the Cardinals and Bills game. Obviously, we know the Cardinals weren't able to win this game. Look at this. Kyler Murray dancing around. He's still looking, and he just settles for a sideline throw to Greg Dortch. But here's the thing. They call this inbound, so once they figure out what they're going to do here, the CBS broadcast shows a crucial replay. Look at Marvin Harrison Jr. and look how wide open he is. That's a touchdown if Kyler Murray gets him there.
I know Kyler Murray's short, but you got to see that. If you can't see that, it wasn't like he was so open. And if you're looking back at that, it's not like Kyler Murray was under that much pressure.
No.
He was dancing around back there, but there was Bills weren't in front of him. They were kind of like waiting out at the line because they didn't want him to run past them.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, that's unfortunate. That would have made that game a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what was the final? Was it 6 points or 7?
6.
Oh, they would have won the game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I mean, Allen would have had time, though.
He would have had time to go get a field goal. That's all they would have needed, but
yeah,
still.
But that would have been a more exciting ending for sure.
Right.
Even if the Buffalo would have come down and got the field goal. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's game one. That's kind of weird that he didn't see him. I mean, Marvin Harrison's a tall guy.
Right.
I would think he would have seen him. But
yeah, and how open he was. I mean, that's a walk-in touchdown. That's a walk-in touchdown.
That's a play that a pro quarterback has to make.
Yeah.
That's not going to go over well in the film room today with
No.
and Arizona, I don't think. But it happens,
Yeah, sometimes you're going to miss guys. So that was just something I took away from the ending of that game. I mean, huge play.
You never see a guy get that wide open.
No.
I mean, that's I don't know who the safety was there for Buffalo, but wow, what a mistake that was. He's got to be counting his lucky stars after that.
Yeah. All right, so that was from Bills and Cardinals. Now we can go to your Steelers.
We got to talk about Pittsburgh. You want to go ahead? You want me to go ahead?
So they kicked 6 field goals, Dad, and win the game. Not a single offensive touchdown or defensive touchdown scored.
It's a win, but it's not one that I'm celebrating. 6 field goals, and 3 of them were from 50 plus.
Yeah.
Like 57, 56.
Mm-hmm.
From
57, 56, and 51.
From Boswell. Side note, who by the way is has the highest percentage of kicks over 50 yards in NFL history.
Wow.
He's the best at it.
Wow.
They had that stat on there yesterday. Which doesn't surprise me. He doesn't miss much. But anyway, get back to the main point. Like I said, 6 field goals. They were really only down in the red zone. They're down in the red zone twice.
Mm-hmm.
The one time they went for it on 4th and 1.
Right.
And for some reason, I don't know. See, they had gone all day long in those. They had the other 4ths or 3rd and short, 4th and short, where they just, Fields took it and ran it, and he got it every time.
Right.
So as a play caller, maybe it wasn't him. Maybe Fields did this on his own. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But as a play caller, you got to know that the other team knows that too. They're going to be like, Fields is going to run this, right?
Right.
So instead of having him under center, where he has fumbled the snap at least twice in this game already, and I'm not positive in this instance, but it looked like he fumbled it, like he bobbled it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went nowhere. The guy came flying over the line because they knew that's what he was going to do. In that situation, he's got to be in shotgun, in my opinion. It spreads out that defense.
Right.
And then he can throw it, run it, hand it off, whatever he wants to do. When you have him under center like that and you're that close at the 10-yard line, everybody's right there on the line.
Mm-hmm.
You can get away with that on the 50-yard line because everybody's not on the line. They have to play the rest of the field.
Exactly.
But right there, they don't. So they were all on the line, and the guy came flying over the line. He knew that was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, whether that was Fields doing that or Arthur Smith calling that, I don't know. But that was bad. But overall, I was happy with what Fields did. The numbers weren't crazy. He only threw for
They aren't going to be. He wasn't expected to even play in this game.
No, he didn't, other than a couple fumbled snaps.
Which he didn't turn over, though.
He didn't turn him over. He got him back, which I hope that can be fixed. He didn't throw any interceptions. When he did throw the ball, he was pretty accurate with it. He had a couple of nice long throws down to Pickens. He had one where Pickens got called for pass interference, which wasn't pass interference, which should have been, which probably was going to lead to a touchdown because that would have got him really close. So I'm pretty happy with how he played. The defense, I'm very happy with. They played excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be pretty good. T.J. Watt was T.J. Watt. The linebackers looked pretty good. Peyton Wilson.
He really stood out for me.
He stood out. Patrick Queen didn't really stand out, but he was solid.
He was solid. He had a shaky start, though, missing a couple of tackles, but he got it.
He was solid. Where are we going forward? You know how Mike Tomlin is.
Mm-hmm.
Is he, when Wilson is right, going to go back to Wilson?
Yeah, he probably will go back to him next week.
You think if Wilson's
healthy next week, they're starting Wilson?
I felt that way at the beginning of the season, but I'm not. So after watching Fields play, he ran for 50 yards too.
I mean, I'm not saying Fields played bad in any way. I think he played amazing for the spot he was in, but Mike Tomlin, he's probably going to make the choice to go back to Russell Wilson. I mean, he was going to be the starter. It is one game, so as much as we want to praise Fields, it's one game. But I give him credit. That Atlanta defense was really hyped up coming into the season after acquiring Judon and Justin Simmons very late. And Fields was able to drive down on him and get him in at least field goal range.
I'm not a Justin Fields guy. I was like Russell Wilson has to start. We don't know if Wilson's going to be healthy for next week. I'm assuming he is, but if he's not and Justin Fields goes back in there and plays a good game, I think it'll be hard for Russell Wilson to get back in there. But if he is healthy this week, I guess you got to go with him. I don't like it, though, because he played Denver this week. So part of me wants to just start Fields because I feel like Wilson's going to want to try to prove something that he shouldn't have got traded out of there.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes that can lead to a bad game.
Yeah.
Whereas Justin Fields is just going to go play a game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an iffy one, but big thing is they didn't score touchdowns.
Need to get the ball.
Same problem they had last year, could not score a touchdown. So that something has to change there. It's Arthur Smith's first game as the OC, so I'll give him a pass. But next week, there better be some touchdowns, no matter who the quarterback is.
Mm-hmm. So Steelers there getting a huge win against the Falcons to start the season on just field goals. A similar team was the Bears. They were the other team who didn't score a single touchdown on offense and won the game. But the game we're going to go to and probably conclude with is Sunday night. And this game, as everyone expected, did not disappoint.
Is by far the best game of the weekend, in my opinion. Detroit gets out to a 17-3 lead. They think, maybe they're going to pull away with it. Not so fast. Matthew Stafford has slowly become one of my favorite players in the NFL.
Stafford.
He's just tough.
Yeah.
He's good. He's tough. He gets the job done. He got his ankle rolled over twice. He's not young. He's 35, I think. He just stays out there and just keeps throwing. Some of those passes that he made to Cooper Kupp, I'm just like, wow. If we only had a quarterback that could make passes like that. Oh my God. He is so good. His arm talent is unbelievable. It's always been good, but the more I watch him, the more I appreciate it. That Ram team is sneaky good. Yeah. Their defense was pretty good. that was a great game. They had a chance to win it. If they connect on that pass where they missed on third down, would have probably sealed the game.
Yeah.
But then Detroit gets it, goes down, ties it up, and then overtime.
Did you watch overtime?
I watched it. I needed to go to sleep, so I could get up this morning, but I just could not stop watching it.
I did watch it, and oh my gosh.
What a
David Montgomery just won them that game.
That was just smash mouth down your throat. Here we go.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Detroit didn't throw a single pass that whole overtime drive, and they went down and scored no problem.
Won the toss, took the ball, and ended the game.
That was awesome.
The run before he scored the touchdown to get to the one that got him to the 1 yard line, that run was unbelievable. That was just like, here I come.
I didn't know how he did that. I thought, okay, stopped. He got the first down. Now he stopped.
Nope.
But then I look back up, and he's pushing the feet, moving the line with him. David Montgomery is tough, and my goodness.
That was great football. That's how football is meant to be played, and yeah, that was a great game. It's first weekend, but that's probably going to be one of your better games of the year right there.
Yeah, Stafford. I really like that point he made with he's tough, and he doesn't. I don't think he even cares. I don't think you heard those Detroit fans booing him as he went on the field again. I don't even think he hears that. I don't think he does. Like last year when they played in the playoffs, one of my favorite clips I've saw of him was when he was running out of the tunnel to a stadium full of booze, and he was like, "Yeah, let's go, bring it."
Yeah, I like him. Yeah, he's unbelievable. I don't know any other quarterback in the league you'd want more than him. I mean, there's guys that are like more talented, obviously Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, but that guys are younger, I should say. They're not more talented, but they're younger. But there's just something about him. I mean, he probably only has a couple years left. The way he gets hurt,
Yeah.
But I just love how he plays, and you gotta like carry him off the field. He's not coming off unless he's getting carried off. So it's just that was a great game. I just loved it.
Yeah, great game to end the Sunday slate, and we've got Monday Night Football, Jets and Niners. We'll make those predictions after your plays of the week. Well, Dad, our first play of the week from week 1 of the NFL season comes from Falcons and Steelers. It's Kirk Cousins. Really doesn't have much of a shot, and TJ Watt makes sure there is no shot. Makes the sack, a walk-off sack, seal it with a bow to the crowd.
Awesome way to end the game. TJ Watt was the game wrecker all game long.
Second play of the week from week 1 comes from Buffalo as Bass, with these new kickoff rules, DJ Dallas returns it in the drop zone, and he is through, breaking a couple of tackles. A block on Bass. You may as well kiss him goodbye. Touchdown, Cardinals.
What a play. I didn't think we'd see any of these this week. Unbelievable. They actually kicked it to him.
Coming from Titans and Bears, and this punt from Stonehouse is blocked and picked up by Jonathan Owens of the Bears. Touchdown, Chicago.
What a play. That starts the comeback for the Bears.
Caleb Williams didn't throw a single touchdown in this game, and none of their running backs rushed for a touchdown. Dad, they had 2 defensive/special team touchdowns in this one.
That seemed to be Chicago Bear football.
Our final play comes from Sunday Night Football. Detroit and Los Angeles. Goff taking a shot down the field. Williams burned Tre'Davious White and scores. Touchdown, Lions.
What a play. He was 10 yards behind him. We're seeing the speed of Williams.
Well, Dad, our ending prediction will be from Monday Night Football tonight. So this game will be over by the time this is released. But who do you got, Jets or Niners?
All of New York loves the Jets. A lot of the national media loves the Jets with Mr. Aaron Rodgers, but not me. No. I think the 49ers absolutely demolish the Jets. That defensive line is going to wreak havoc on Aaron Rodgers. I got the Niners winning by at least 2 touchdowns.
All right, give me the Niners. I agree with that. I've had the Niners winning, but I think it'll be a little closer than you think. Maybe a touchdown.
I could see that. I just have a feeling that Rodgers' first game back. I just don't know. We saw how Kirk Cousins was off the Achilles injury yesterday, and Rodgers is actually older, like at least 3 or 4 years older than Cousins.
Coming off the same injury.
Same injury. So I'm a little worried about him. The offensive line better block.
And we'll see that result and one more game since we will record ours next week, our next episode. We'll do the Thursday night game this week between Buffalo and Miami.
Probably the biggest game of the week, I think, and it's on Thursday. This is in Miami, right?
Yep.
So, I just think Josh Allen has to do too much for the Bills right now. They lost a lot of guys from last year. They got to figure out how to win without them. So, I'm gonna say Miami wins this one. Close game. I could see a 3-point game, but right down to the end, and I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
I agree with you on the close game part. I don't agree with you with the winner. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen.
I can see that. This is a tough one to pick. Could go either way, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
Could go either way.
Yep.
So that is the end of our first episode of the 2024 NFL season. I, once again, am your host, Preston, alongside my father, Mike, and we will see you on the next episode of PM Sport Talk. If you like what you see here on this podcast, PM Sport Talk, you can support us by simply hitting the subscribe button, and a like doesn't hurt as well. We also have a website up, pmsporttalk.com, and if you want to contact us with anything, pmsporttalk@gmail.com is where you can contact us at.